broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Houston, Texas. It's time for Houston Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Hello, Houston. Trisha Stetzel here, bringing you another episode of Houston Business Radio. Today's guest is Roberto Capodieci, a lifelong innovator whose journey began when he sold his first video game. I'm not going to give you all the deets because we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. He was also nicknamed the Sheriff of the Internet, another story we're going to talk about. And he went on to become a respected global leader in blockchain and decentralized systems. From Bali, where he balances family life with leading international teams, he continues to push the boundaries of what's possible with Web3, blockchain, and digital transformation. Roberto's motto is underpromise, overdeliver. And his career from programmer to author, CTO, and speaker is a testament to building trust while driving innovation. Roberto, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. And wow, what a beautiful introduction you've made.
Well, we don't often do it for ourselves. So I spend some time making sure that I can represent you very well when I introduce you.
Yeah,
so,
everything
Roberto,
is
Yes, of course. You're coming all the way to us from Bali. Thank you for being here. I'm very excited to have this conversation with you. So tell me a little, or tell the audience a little bit more about Roberto.
All right. Yes. Well, I'm Italian because nobody's perfect, but I grew up in Italy. Then I spent about 12 years in the United States, in Florida, mainly in Florida. And then I came in Southeast Asia, a little bit in time in Singapore, and then here in Bali, Indonesia. I'm from Venice in Italy. Florida is another tourist destination. Bali is another tourist destination. So if people want to holiday somewhere and make the effort to go in that place, why not living there directly, right? So we have only one life, and I did my best to enjoy it the most.
That's beautiful. Bali is not someplace I've been, so I will definitely have to visit and I will come see you.
It's in the bucket list of many people. It is a nice place nonetheless.
Mhm.
I am a father of 4. I'm already a grandpa, even if I look like I'm 25 and not. But I'm into IT and computers since I was a little kid. That's what is in my life. What else I can say? I'm an happy person in general.
Yeah, very much. Well, why don't we start with something I alluded to when I introduced you, and you sold your first video game at just the age of 10. So what sparked your early passion for technology, and how has that influenced you to the path where you are now?
As a little kid, I loved all the mechanical things, gears and things that move. So many that my parents would bring me things that to dismantle and study. Then I made a choice because my father had a small programmable calculator where it could be coded as a smooth display. And it was asking, "What's your name?" If I put my name, it was a good answer. If I put some other names, I don't want to talk with you. And that fascinated me a lot. So I shifted my interest. I'm talking about being 5 years old at this time. And so my parents invested by purchasing a computer for me, the first home computer, very old stuff. And I spent my time, it was school just because I had to go to school and then go back home and spend time there. And at a certain point, my parents were spoiling me a little bit too much, so they decided to cut it short a little bit, and my lifestyle changed suddenly. So I needed to monetize my talent, and this pushed me to do a few entrepreneurial things as a little kid. And one of which was developing video game, making all the tapes because it was saved in cassettes at the time, cassette tapes, and distributed around and started selling it and So from there, he started. As everywhere there is a small trauma to start something, there was the mini trauma that pushed me to enter in this ability of producing income in order to have always a nice lifestyle as a 10 years old.
Absolutely. So are your children also into technology? I'm just curious.
Not the way that I would like. Every teenager is, using technology, like it or not, because it's part of everyday life today. I think what was my blessing is that at that time there were very little things and they were not so difficult. So it was easy to reverse engineer a game or code your own game, and many times you buy the magazine that had all the code to copy by hand in order to get the game running in your computer, and that these things made the few kids that had a computer, which was very very few, closer to the actual functioning of the machine, and so gave a certain direction in that technology kind of today kids is playing with an iPad when they are 2 years old, and they don't question how it's working, why it's working, but they just consume the product. So unfortunately, no, none of my kids, I don't force them to do something like this, but they are talented in other things, they're good in drawings, which me, I am not at all. And so
That's okay. It's well balanced between the kids and you,
absolutely.
right? Yeah, I remember when not everybody had a computer. I know I look like I'm 15, kidding. But I remember not everybody had a cell phone computer in their house. And you're right, it's so available now. Not everyone is as curious as you were when you were younger and building video games. So in the 90s, you were dubbed the sheriff of the internet for cracking cyber fraud cases. So what's one of the
Yes.
most memorable challenges you tackled?
I would say that on one side, I lived on the other side, meaning that I've been a little bit. Thank God that there were no legislation that regulate cybercrime at the time. So whatever I was doing, pretty much was okay. There was no law that put me in trouble. At least in Italy where I was, but.
Mhm.
So that was for sure about to understand the mechanics of many things that could have been done, etc., which made me more alert and aware of situations. So from a particular kind of scandal there has been with dialers for dial-up modems back when the modem were making the strange noises, right? To even finding and investigating groups of criminals online. So I did a little bit of this, um, like many people they're good on something. Becomes quite instinctive to walk on the borderline and say on what side I do what I do. So
Yeah, absolutely. So how is that experience and the challenges that you had working in that space, how is that really play how does that play into what you do today?
there have been a lot of interesting coincidences. There is a very funny story. When I was 15, 14, 15, or something like that, there were still no laws about intellectual properties. So piracy wasn't illegal. Every university had a copy shop right outside. So, one book and then photocopy for everybody. And can you imagine software for computer was even less regulated because it was like something alien for those old people at the government. And I started making a huge business in selling pirate video games. Pretty much the scene was a lot of kids were coming to my house. Here's the Roberto, were coming up, spend 5 minutes, leaving, and I was full of money. my parents thought I was selling drugs because the behavior was identical, right? And strangely enough, they were complaining with other people about this son that is retired but end up selling drugs. So much that somebody came to me offering to enter a larger business, in something totally legal. I had a friend that was working in the police, so I immediately called him and said, "Look, there is this guy that is offering such and such." And so, it became an important operation. 57 people arrested. And I became friend of this very special team in the police. They were doing very particular investigations. And one day I went to visit them, and I find them all around the table with the highlighters and papers, a lot of papers, calling for numbers. I says, "What are you doing?" And we were checking to see who called who. And I said, "Look, with a computer, you do all this job in one day." So I helped them, and I started implementing software to do social network analysis, organized crimes, analyzing of phone record, bank record, and all those things. And I started a very particular career in a field that I was a pioneer, because there was not yet. Now there is plenty of companies that sell any sort of software that does those things. By the time it didn't exist, and it's been quite interesting. So I spent a good 3 years, a day and night, working with the anti-drug unit and doing some incredible experiences that really shaped one big side of my. I even became a private investigator, the youngest in Italy. At the time, it's been quite an interesting experience.
Wow. So you went from being accused to finding the accused.
Right. I
Oh
don't know
my
if my parents ever changed the idea of what I was doing as a kid, but
Oh my goodness. Well, I know people are already wanting to connect with you, so I would love for you to give us your contact information. What is the best way for listeners to contact you, Roberto?
my handle in LinkedIn is RC10. R like Roberto, C like Capodieci 10, because 10 in Italy is 10. So RC10. So it's the classic linkedin.com/IN/RC10. And it's very easy to see my page, my profile, connect with me and send me a message.
Perfect. Thank you for that. So let's talk a little bit about balance. You live in Bali, you've raised a family, you're working with teams across the globe. How do you balance everything in your life and your professional space as well?
With a few nervous breakdown. No, but
Oh no.
it's not no, it's not easy, and I've been through being burned out several times. Is In fact, the power of living in Bali. Bali, for people that don't know, is a small tropical island in Indonesia, where people just go to holiday. There are beautiful rice fields, and the local culture is fantastic. And this gives a lot of recharging power. So it's easy to just, go out, like breathe the air and feeling already better. Singapore, which is a hub for business and technology, is just 2 hour flight from here. So it's very easy to just take a flight, go there for a meeting, and then fly back in the evening. So got to a point where, like, doing a few days of consulting per month are enough to cover the expenses, and then not being greedy to want too much has been easy to then balance things at a certain point. Consider that I remain a single father of 2 kids for many years, so I had the kids, the business, and all to bring together. So the Bali really being helpful in these terms.
Mhm.
Whereas somewhere else it would have been very difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, a single father of 2, you've got 4 children and grandchildren, and I know you're an awesome grandfather too. Let's get a little more technical and let's talk blockchain and Web3, both still evolving. So from your perspective, what's the most exciting opportunity for real world impact that most people don't know yet?
Yeah, I think that we are going finally, the spotlight is on artificial intelligence now. So blockchain as an emerging technology can finally be deployed for real purposes and not just for hype, okay? Which is a very interesting aspect. And hopefully also washes away, because get tainted the name by all the scam that people did with crypto. While blockchain is a tool that can do many other things except beside the cryptocurrencies. So there are a lot of applications that can come very useful as of today. In a moment where deep fake AI created, clones are so common, being able to certify an identity, to certify the originality of something is very important, because we don't know if I am now AI generated and talking to you, and
I hope
I
not.
could, but it could be made by somebody else pretending to be me in a business deal with some other party. I don't know. So being able to sign and say, look, this video stream is actually authentic, approved by me, even if it's a clone, and or a phone call or whatever else. So we enter a moment where we need an identity management that is very effective, compared to just having an ID card to show somewhere. And blockchain, between its ingredients to make the final result of blockchain, has all the use of cryptography in mathematics. There is a system to guarantee signature that cannot be tempered, so it's a very powerful tool in that sense. And it's also an amazing tool to bring back singularity, unicity to the digital world, because in the physical world, if I give you a painting, you have the painting, I don't have it anymore.
Sure.
But in the digital world, I have a JPEG, I make a copy, we both have the exact same thing, and nobody knows which is the original, who is the real owner of the image. And with thanks to blockchain, we can create singularity on digital things. So in fact, if I give you a Bitcoin, I don't have it anymore. If I could copy and paste the Bitcoin, it would worth nothing tomorrow. And so I can put the ownership title of my car in the blockchain. So when I pass it to you, the car is yours and can be certified, and is even more difficult to fake, somebody's signature for a transfer of property. So there are many interesting use cases that are not so glamorous like cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, where people made a lot of money, but are going to be applied because people start understanding the real capacity that there is in this technology, and the utility, and the reduction of cost, and the reduction of needing to trust somebody else to manage our data. We become owner and controlling our data and giving it to who we want, which is a very important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And keeping everyone safe and keeping their data safe and their technology safe. All of those things are so important. Thank you for sharing that. I heard that you might have a book out there. Do you want to talk about it?
Right. This is a book that has been written together while working on a very ambitious project, and reasons on the different kind of technology that there are there. So, and plus there is the story of this team building this product at the same time. So it goes between technical and non-technical. What is fascinating about this book is that it's interactive. So you can see in some pages there are QR codes, and if you are reading the book with one hand and with the other you are holding your cell phone, you can scan the QR code and hear a commentary done by voice. You can join a discussion about the paragraph with other people. So it is a very interesting book, and it's for free in PDF. It's 270 pages. or if somebody want to pay money, can buy it in Amazon.
Beautiful. So if someone's interested in getting the book, where's the best place to find it, Roberto?
I think we can leave in the comments or in the
Okay.
description of the video, but the link is a little bit complex to say by voice.
Okay, perfect. Well, I will put that in the show notes so folks can just point and click. And if they're listening in their car today, when they get back to their office, then they can pull it up and grab what they need from the show notes. Yeah.
So they can always write to me in LinkedIn, RC10, and
Okay.
I give them the book.
Yeah, perfect. And by the way, if you guys are listening in your car, Capodieci spelled Capodieci, just so you know you have the right guy on LinkedIn.
Right.
RC10 is his link there. Roberto, I heard you may also have a podcast. Is that true?
Yes. Um, I was guest in a podcast a few years ago, and they asked me if I would try to co-host, and then I had my own series inside
Nice.
talking about security safety, because there is a lot of scams online. A lot of people, fall for those scams. They lose a lot of money. So I thought it was interesting to inform people about these things and interview a lot of very cool YouTubers that I follow that work in stopping the scams, and that started, and then and this was under some other people that were organizing this thing. Then I moved and I started my own things, more technical or more talking about general things. So is new since January, so it's nothing like over 10 years of age, but it's taking shape as I go ahead. It's interesting. It's called
Beautiful.
interchain.me. Interchain.me, and there it is.
I love that. I will also put the link to that in the show notes so you guys can go directly there. And again, connect with Roberto on LinkedIn. Anything that you want, I'm sure he can deliver that back to you. You're a very humble man. Thank you for allowing me to talk about your book and your podcast. So, as we get to the end of our conversation today, I'd love to hear more about your motto, which is under promise and over deliver. Tell me more about that.
Sure, we don't want delusion, right? So it's very important to be limited in the promise, and then deliver always something extra that people feel more surprised and happy about. That's pretty much a way to keep, even though many companies promise a lot and deliver very little, because it's a
Mhm.
way to grab maybe a business and a client and create a dependency to them, because they're the only one that can put hands on the software, etc., etc. But I think in general it pays off, to be honest, to tell the client, no, you don't need this, So I think there is an important thing is to be modest in what people want. Let's do the basic, let's do the things that are important, and then being able to deliver something more. And, people is always happy and they come back.
Absolutely. So, for the young innovators and entrepreneurs out there that are listening to the show today, what would you tell them about moving outside of the comfort zone or doing something new and innovative? What advice would you give them?
Well, this is a very interesting discussion point I had with somebody that says everybody can be an entrepreneur. And I
Mm.
says, no, you need to have it inside. But it says any transaction in life is a business transaction if you want. Accepting
Okay.
to be a guest somewhere, or, like taking a bottle of water and offering water. So, yeah, it's true. Under that aspect, everybody can start seeing life like a set of a business operation. But on the other side, to actually run a business, it is not so simple. There is the classic aspect that if you are a good chef, doesn't mean you can manage a restaurant. You can cook well, but that's just one small part of what it means to run a restaurant. There is so many other things that are, and required to be done. So it's important to know how to delegate into who and trust, and never give up. Meaning that if you start and things doesn't go well, keep going, keep going, keep going, because it's like keep buying lottery tickets. Sooner or later, get the right one. And that's pretty much it. It's not easy. It's not easy. I mean, like a lifestyle change completely.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And it takes hard work. It just does, right? Yeah.
Bravery, being brave to bet on something without knowing the outcome. If you have employees, imagine when I was 18 and not even 19, I had 52 people working with me, and I would never hire somebody that the salary was something they needed to feed some kids or something. I always hire kids living with the parents, where the salary I was paid to them was just something extra, because I wouldn't sleep at night thinking if something happened tomorrow and I leave a family with no money, is not an easy, aspect to handle. So when you have people that work with you, become even more complicated, because there is a lot of human aspect, a lot of business aspect, But now I'm out of this since a couple of years of sabbatical, so that's a very good thing. I think now there is this trend of solopreneur. So you run business, you can run with the perfect number of business partner, which is one, and with the perfect number of employee, which is one, and it can make. I think the world is split in two. There is those that do the regular life things with a work, a salary, whatever, and then there is these people that do this mobile application, a very silly video game, and make a few $1,000,000. It is strange how these two words collide, but you don't even know. So there are opportunities, there are options. I don't know, it's a matter of exploring them. Now with AI, we are facilitated to do what we want, right? So it is easier now.
Absolutely. And we have the choice. We get to make that choice, which is so
Right.
important. Yeah, absolutely. Roberto, thank you so much for being with me today. It has been such a pleasure to have you on to talk about technology, and especially about you. And I know you're very humble, but I appreciate you sharing about your book, which sounds very interesting, by the way, as well as your new podcast that just started in January of 2025. If you guys want to connect with Roberto, his last name is spelled Capodieci, or you can find him at LinkedIn. His handle is RC1010. So RC10. All of that will be in the show notes so that you can connect with Roberto. Thank you again. This has been such a pleasure.
Yeah, likewise, a big pleasure for me. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's all the time that we have for today. If you found value in this conversation I had with Roberto today, please share it with a fellow entrepreneur, a veteran, or Houston leader ready to grow. Be sure to follow, rate, and review the show. It helps us reach more bold business minds just like yours. And your business, your leadership, and your legacy are built one intentional step at a time. So stay inspired, stay focused, and keep building the business and the life you deserve.